My father could fix or build anything. When my three sisters and I were young, he built us a swing set in the backyard. Now, this wasn't from a kit. He designed it and built it himself using household plumbing pipes. And that was a sturdy swing set that served us well for decades. However, I did grow up thinking that American Standard made playground equipment. So. But my father was an amazing guy. He really was an amazing guy. And he could fix things, build things. And in my family, I had three sisters. So it was myself, my three sisters, and my mother and my father. And so in my family, humor, including, we'll make that mainly teasing each other, was an important part of our family life. It's what we did. And there were shifting alliances that were formed in our family, depending on who was the butt of the joke and who was doing the butting. And so sometimes it was parents versus the children. Sometimes it was the children, or the sisters versus the brother. And sometimes it was the men versus the women. And these shifting alliances went back and forth, again, depending on who was the butt of the joke. And the jokes, this humor, this teasing, was never intentionally mean. However, there were 4 children in the household, and children don't necessarily know where that line is. And so the parents had to step in occasionally with things like that. So in the twilight of my adolescence, when I was around 14, I decided that I should begin shaving. Didn't say it was necessary. I just decided I should begin shaving. That's what I should do. And I knew how to shave. I knew what was going on and everything. I'd seen my father shave over the years, although I had to spend time in the bathroom with him for, quite some time now. But I knew what was going on. You just lather up. You put a new blade in the Gillette, the double safety razor blade, and you lather up, and you scrape the face. And then, you wash it off, and you're shaved. Easy peasy. And so that's what I did one summer afternoon, late in the afternoon. I went into the bathroom, and I lathered up. And I put a new blade in the Gillette safety razor, and I shaved, scraped my face, being careful not to go sideways. I knew that. And I scraped his face and the neck and everything. And then I finished off, washed my face, got the extra lather off, and I finished off not with aftershave lotion or cologne, but what I did was I took a lake full of rubbing alcohol, and I poured it in my hand, and I put it on, and what I did was I created the Home Alone meme decades before Kevin did. It was painful. So I went out into the backyard to die, and I stayed out there for a while. And after a while, the stinging went away, and I was, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. And then by the time my mother called me in for dinner, I was feeling pretty good. So I walk in, I sit down at the table, and everybody's just looking at me. And I don't know what's going on. I haven't looked in the mirror and everything. My mother, who was a nurse, says, "Tony, what did you do?" I said, What? And my sister said, your face, it's all red. It looks like a radish. Your face is red. I had no idea. And my father realized what I had done, and he stepped in and he said, I know what happened. That happens to me sometimes. Sometimes you get a towel and it's too rough, and when you rub your face while you're washing your face, it makes it raw and it gets inflated. It happens to me all the time. My mother catches on and says, yeah, I know just the towel you're talking about. We'll have to rip that up and just use it for rags. Now, my 3 sisters weren't buying any of this, but they couldn't contradict my father, because he had said what it was. And I'm sitting there saying, oh, man, I just dodged a bullet, because if they had been teasing me for that, and that had got out of hand, that would be one of those family history sessions, that every Thanksgiving thereafter, I'd have to relive this whole incident. I was doomed. So my father saved me from that. And later that day, later that evening, he took me aside and he explained a few things about shaving, particularly the difference between aftershave lotion and rubbing alcohol. And then he promised me that he goes, in a couple months, I'll give you one of my razors. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, you're not going to need it for a couple of months. He had to get that one shot in there. Had to get that one shot. But I was so grateful that it was just one shot, and it was from my dad. So what is a successful father? I think when the children know that they are loved, however that is a successful father.